Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, Branden here with another great business to discuss on this episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. Today's guest is Daniel, and he's selling his dropshipping business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. So welcome to the show, Daniel, and how are you doing today?
Hey Branden, doing well. Thanks for having me on the show today.
Yeah, it's really nice to have you on and talk to you about this business that you've created. But before we get into the details of the business, let's give a quick overview. So it is a dropshipping business in the outdoors niche created in August 2019. The average monthly revenue for the business is $120,711 and makes an average of $21,585 per month in net profit. For everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 53107 to learn more about the business. Or you can unlock this listing to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing this asset. So now that I've given a general overview of the business, what's included in the sale is the domain and all site content and files, an email list with over 7,700 subscribers, email contracts, social media accounts for Facebook and Instagram, and also standard operating procedures are included. So Daniel, can you tell us a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses?
Yeah, so I originally graduated college actually in 2017, and I got a full-time job from there, and I had some extra time on my hands. So I had a couple friends in the dropshipping space that kind of got me into it. So I started it in August of 2019, was working primarily on weekends and staying up late at night and waking up early in the morning and doing it as my side gig. Then as it constantly grew and we saw a lot of growth within 6 months or so of launching the site, I ended up having to take this on full time, started hiring some staff, outsourcing some content, kind of really making it hands off for me. So right now I'm putting about, anywhere between usually probably on average 5 to 10 hours, sometimes less, sometimes more. But yeah, we have a full team of employees and a lot of it's outsourced right now. So it is a full-time gig for me right now. So I was able to quit my 9-to-5 job, and I'm doing some other online businesses as well, some drop shipping. Nothing currently that competes with this market, but just other drop shipping stores and do some real estate as well.
Oh, wow. That's quite the heavy workload, I guess, and kind of plays in with why you might be wanting to sell the business at this time. But we'll get to that a little bit later in the interview. But I'm curious, so with this business being a drop shipping business, are you generating revenue through your network through multiple sources, or is it all coming or stemming from maybe one or two major brands?
You mean our advertising sources, that what we're adding, paid ads, things like that?
As far as the products themselves through the suppliers for the business?
Oh, the suppliers. Yeah, we have a ton of suppliers in multiple different categories as well that kind of overlap in the outdoor space. So we have about, I think it's around 30 suppliers. And of those 30, 10 of them are actually what I considered great suppliers that some of them we have exclusive agreements with. And that's kind of goal down the road to get more exclusive agreements, because that's what we've noticed when we have those, we kind of take off with the supplier. But yeah, we're diverse across multiple suppliers, and I wouldn't say one supplier makes up a large majority of our revenue. It's pretty evenly split among, I'd say, 10 to 12 of them.
Yeah, that's really great to hear that you have that diversity and within the suppliers that are on the site as well. And why was it that you decided to go into this specific niche? Was there something in the outdoors niche that you noticed kind of in your early stages of growing the online dropshipping businesses that saw potential, or was that just something that kind of fell into your lap?
It's a little bit of both, actually. I was traveling around Europe and I noticed a lot of this specific product. I won't go into details on what product it is, but I noticed a lot of this being used. And when I came back to the US, I was living over there for a little bit. And when I came back to the US, I noticed it wasn't really a big category and I didn't see them as often. And I've heard from my friends over in Europe how efficient they were. So I figured it would be a growing space in the US, and I came back and started this site, and it really, really has taken off. And one of the good things about it continues to grow, but the suppliers that we have, we got in early enough to get some really, really good quality suppliers that are no longer really expanding their dealer network. So we got in at a great time.
Yeah, it's really great to hear that kind of story. And it's not something that we often hear, being able to build those exclusive relationships with your suppliers. And that's really gold right there in itself. Now, if the business is doing so great at this time, why is it that you've decided you'd like to sell it?
So I have a total of 3 sites just on dropshipping. So 2 of them I'm trying to grow to get to a decent size right now. And it's just a lot on my plate. And in order to continue to grow and manage my employees, I need to offload some. I'm a little bit overloaded with work right now. I buy and flip land as well and do some other real estate apartment rentals in Cincinnati. So I'm really starting to move towards real estate market a little more. And I think 3 stores at this time is a bit much for me. So I just thought, since I have an asset on this one and it's my biggest store right now, I offload this one and focus on my other 2 stores.
Yeah, I understand completely. Now, was there anything that you learned while growing this business that you plan on applying to your current or maybe future projects down the road?
Yeah, like I said, those supplier agreements are extremely crucial in this business. Some of them take a long time to get. And the good thing about this business that I'm selling, we've been around a long time and most of the suppliers and people know of us. So over time, these suppliers get easier and easier to get as you have more tenure in the industries. So I think just constantly getting new suppliers and new good agreements, trying to get some exclusive relationships, that's the main thing. And then the second thing would be just ads. I've wasted a lot of money on bad advertisements for suppliers that aren't profitable. So you got to identify those suppliers and really know where to put your money. Kind of the 80-20 rule, put 80% of your budget where you're making the most money and then kind of play with the other 20%.
Yeah, really solid advice and a great mention as well. And, wondering where is the majority of the traffic for this business coming from? Is most of it coming through organic search, or you said you kind of dabbled a little bit with PPC advertising, but assuming that didn't go as well as you had hoped. So yeah, where is the majority of the traffic coming from now?
Well, we do a lot of paid per click, definitely on Google and Bing, but we've had a lot of success on Microsoft ads, Google ads, Facebook ads. We're getting a lot of SEO clicks now. We invested, I think early this year, I think January, February, and I bought like 25 very high quality backlinks. Then I hired a writer, was blasting out blogs on our good selling products and suppliers. And the combination of that and buying our backlinks, with each backlink had a domain rating of over 60. I think all of them besides one were over 70, and a lot were in the 80s and even 90s. So we got really, really good Wall Street Journal backlinks, which really helped our domain rating as a site. So we see a lot of growth in that SEO, our SEO clicks every week and every day. We continue to hit new highs with just amount of clicks per day. So SEO is making up a good percentage now, but the majority still comes from PPC on Google and Microsoft and Facebook.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's a really great strategy as well to continue to build up the SEO, and that's side of the business and the content side of the business as well too. So that's awesome that you already have that runway built for the buyer. Now, are you doing anything else in terms of marketing, like as far as utilizing the large email list you have, or maybe anything on social media, or is most of that kind of added onto the side when time allots?
That's added onto the side. I have a large email list. I haven't blasted out as many campaigns as I would like. I do have automatic campaigns for when someone does sign up originally, and those could be like abandoned cart campaigns, welcome campaigns. But the actual campaigns with specials and deals and holiday sales and things like that, I do a poor job of. So I think for someone who maybe has some experience or wants to focus on email, there's a lot of revenue to be made up on this site for that, because I have not been really involved in that. And as well as that, Instagram and Facebook, I mean, I haven't focused on that either. The only Facebook I do is paid marketing, or Instagram. I do some paid marketing and retargeting campaigns on Facebook and Instagram. But yeah, I haven't focused on the social media side or the email marketing side. So that could be a big opportunity for somebody, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm happy you brought that up at this time, because that kind of led into my next question on some of the ways that you would try and grow it, hypothetically speaking. I don't know if you had anything else you'd like to add on to that outside of social media and email marketing that you feel are really great opportunities for this business.
Yeah, I think since I have these other businesses, I haven't been able to focus as much on the ad side as I would like, the paid ad side. So if I were to keep this business, I would really, really limit my budget with products that aren't as profitable and we're not having the volume in other products. I actually went into my ads last week and I just saw how much wasted money there was just because I haven't had the time to really dive into it. So you talk about someone going in there right away, focusing on the ads a little bit, cleaning it up. I think you can really polish off with the ads and be more lean of a company in that way.
Yeah, a bit of CRO on the products themselves, and then even some maybe testing on the paid advertising as well is another great opportunity that for a buyer to consider. Now, could you walk us through maybe some of the typical work or some of the workload or tasks that you're performing on this business on a weekly basis?
Yeah, so I usually try to spend an hour or two, or usually about an hour a week, trying to get some new decent suppliers that I see in the industry. And I have a list of those for whoever who wants to inquire more. So just focus on new suppliers. There's a couple new niches I'm trying to get into, has shown high potential and very ripe suppliers in terms of low competition and high volume sales. So I try to expand and think on a big level like that. And then I do have a few employees. I'm managing them. We get on a call every week, usually multiple times a week, but we have some meetings just going over different things. I do have a full-time salesperson that I am constantly in communication with. She's kind of our bread and butter in terms of sales. So we get a lot of calls and she does a great job on the sales side of things. So I talk to her probably 30 minutes to an hour going into the ads account. I used to do that a lot more, but 30 minutes a week would be plenty, I would think. 30 minutes to an hour a week. And then just doing general checking invoices. Sometimes I overlook the invoices, go into orders, just upkeep on the website, hiring new writers to create new content and write new blogs, things like that. But that's primarily it, is just managing the employees right now and focusing on new suppliers.
Okay. And will a majority of these VAs and people that are managing some of these tasks be continuing with the business, or will they be going on with you in your other projects?
No, they're trained for this business. They'd be great addition. They would stay on site.
Okay. What some of the VAs and a lot of the help on the back end is going on, do you feel there's any particular skill set required that a buyer should have prior to acquiring this business?
I have a good operations down, and it's pretty hands-off for a buyer in terms of running the day-to-day operations. It's pretty simple. I have it down in that way. I think if you have a good advertisement and SEO background, I think it would be a great opportunity because the operations and the dropshipping operations are already here. We have a whole list of operations that my employees go by. So it's not a lot of work from that standpoint. It's more just focusing on the growth. So ads, SEO, new suppliers, things like that. It's always good for salespeople who are hungry to go get new good suppliers and try to get those exclusive relationships. I think it would be really good for somebody who's interested in making some calls and trying to make some new agreements.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a really great mention as well. You brought up all those really great points about the low-hanging fruit, I guess you could call it, for this business itself. Now, on the flip side of that, what do you feel are maybe some of the potential risks associated with this business that a buyer should be aware of?
New competition with suppliers. So if you're not on top of getting the new suppliers that are coming into the market, because it is such a booming space, then I think that there's going to become more and more players in this space. So that's why I think diversifying needs to be your number one priority in these different product types that go along in the outdoor space, but not in my specific niche exactly. So I think the more you diversify and obtain these suppliers, you can help avoid that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that we do say quite often as well, is the more diversified you are with your revenue sources and traffic sources as well, especially the better off you'll be. Dan, are you open to committing to a non-compete, meaning you'll stay out of this specific niche with any current or future projects?
Yeah, I'm not going to have anything that competes with this.
Okay, perfect. And then how much support are you willing to offer potential buyers? Are you going with the typical 30 days of email and Skype support, or did you have something in addition that you would like to add on to that?
I want it to be a win-win. So if somebody needed more support in 60 days, a specific amount of time, I'm willing to work with somebody on this because I do want it to be good for them and myself. So if somebody needed 60 days phone support, email support, I work remote, so my phone's always on me. I'm willing to help them as much as they need throughout the transition process.
Yeah, that's really great to hear. And then are you open to negotiating something like an earnout where you'll receive a large portion of the sales price up front and then smaller payments closing out the deal after that?
Definitely.
Okay, great to hear. Now, just a few more sideline questions for you, Daniel, before we wrap this up. So what advice would you give to our listeners that you wish you knew when you first started this business?
I've come to realize that it's about knowing what to focus on in the business because you can get really strung out and spend your time in the wrong areas. So I think by focusing on these key growth factors that I've mentioned, new suppliers, advertisements, SEO, and don't get caught up in the day-to-day. We have employees for that. And outsource the low value activities is what we call it. So I wish I would have outsourced earlier and really focused on the things that I know are going to bring more revenue and more profits to the business. But that's just something I've learned over time. And it's hard to do. It's hard to kind of give up what you're doing take a step back and focus on those things, because you do get caught up in the day-to-day task, but those really don't drive the business forward.
Yeah, it's really great insight, is thinking about like spending your most maximum efficient time on the things that are actually going to move the needle in your favor versus the small nuances, I guess, that come along with it. I guess one last question for you. So putting yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why do you think that your business is worth buying?
I think our operations are set so it can be hands off. It can be a great stream of revenue from day one, revenue and profits. And I think that industry we're in, we have a really early start. So I think between the industry and our operations and ads and how profitable this business is, I think it's only going to go up from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking in the listing itself and seeing your numbers and the metrics is really astonishing what you've created here. And I'm sure our potential buyers out there can also see the value in what you've kind of built for them to take over. And that pretty much wraps it up. Thanks again for jumping on the call, Daniel, and looking forward to seeing this listing getting sold for you here in the near future.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Branden.
Thank you so much. And all right, everyone, thanks for listening. And to learn more and to see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 53107. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. And once you've unlocked this listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.